Welcome to this review to Mashle Magic and Muscle, Chapter 82, Mash Bernadette and the Infancy. But before I get into the chapter, if you like what I do on this channel and want to see more of my content in the future, don't forget to subscribe. I am trying to reach 500 subscribes before the end of the year. If we could do that, it would be awesome. But with that said and out of the way, let's get into the actual chapter, which starts us off in some unknown alleyway with a hooded figure, who is obviously Demina from both his hairstyle and the mark on his face, which is prominently displayed within the shadow of his hood. He is currently in the midst of killing someone, or so it seems. It almost looks like he is draining the magic out of his target, who is screaming out in pain as he lays upon the ground. But who should turn up to confront him but the Dragon King Ogito Tyrone and the immortal Cane Renatus Revol. They were sent out to deal with an individual who had been attacking individuals on the street, because said individual was too powerful for the guards to deal with on their own. Considering that, the police couldn't deal with Mash, I don't have much hope in them dealing with Demina either. It's interesting to note that they are accompanied by a small chibi dragon creature, which the moment the fight starts, seems to turn into a huge dragon, similar to 008 shifted his form. I wonder if this is an effect of Ogito's magic being the Dragon Cane or owing to the fact the dragon is a servant of theirs. Hard to tell since no spells were declared, but they were also obviously cast with Renatus summoning his giant hands in an attempt to grab Demina to no avail. We are told from Renatus's thoughts that a normal magic user would have died 3 times over, which is interesting. It would be nice if we got to see the divine visionaries flex their strengths against an ordinary individual so we could get an idea of their actual strength compared to the regular person, rather than always having them face off against absurd individuals like Mash and Demina. We are also informed that the reason Demina doesn't even have a scratch on him is because of the massive amount of magic power he possesses, which cushions the blows, allowing him to withstand them without being harmed. Demina recognizes that taking on 2 divine visionaries at once is a slight problem for him, but that doesn't stop him from going on the offensive, even after Renatus correctly identifies to him that he can't defend and attack at the same time. Demina's magic power increases before he goes in for the attack, cutting off Renatus's right hand and cleaving Ogito clean in 2 at the waist. Of course, that doesn't turn out to be the case, as the individuals that the spell had struck were just some sort of clone that was cast while Demina was distracted by their first attack, allowing them to move around behind them and begin their attack. Of course, Demina, without regard for his own life, continues to charge straight towards them, aiming to go right past their spells and attack them directly. Renatus's giant hands attempt to grab him only to get shredded in the process, creating a massive amount of smoke and dust, allowing him to escape in the midst of it. And as they go after him, Renatus can only think about just what Demina's story is, despite not actually having a chance to confirm his identity. We then transition into a flashback, with baby Demina, stuck in a cage while what looks like bolts and flames of magic flow off his entire body, shooting out of the cage and destroying everything around him. And then we get a surprise, as we get introduced to baby Mash, who at only 5 months old, was rebuilding all the structures which Demina would destroy with his magic. Being born in the same year, Demina would throw destructive fits all the time, his magic destroying stone walls. Adults passed out from being in contact with such powerful magic, all of them trembles before Demina despite him still only being an infant at the time. The midwife was certain that Demina would become a magic user of unimaginable power, which is very true considering what we just saw with him surviving an encounter with 2 visionaries without a scratch on him. And at the exact opposite end of the spectrum, there was Mash, who despite having no magic engaged in carpentry, to the point everyone could admire it, with his DIY skills being so great he could even create whole cabinets, and not just any cabinets but very fancy looking ones, without issue. Of course, the midwife was certain he would become an excellent carpenter, which makes me wonder how good his carpentry would have become if he had stayed with them. Also, are these people all part of Innocent Zero? Or was this before the group was even founded? Hard to say, but it's interesting that so many people were around these infants, especially those who knew Mash didn't have magical power, so I'd assume they had to at least know enough to keep their mouths shut about it, or else Mash's secret should have been out long ago. Anyway, we are told that Domina had an instinctual respect for his father's great power, not surprising given how father might have been the only person with more magic power than him at the time, or at least that Domina got to cease during his infancy. However, him reaching the conclusion that his life was for his father's will so early in life, that's very weird and makes me wonder if Domina wasn't already messed up even as a baby. Even if he never met his father, would he still have been as warped? Hard to say, but the fact that he even as a baby was questioning Mash's worth as a human being because he had no magic and even attempted to harness his own magic to kill Mash points to that yes, he was still just as messed up as a baby. Of course, that didn't stop Mash from avoiding the attack using a high-end driving technique called zigzagging inertial drifting. I'm not a race car driver, so I can't tell you if what is told to you in the chapter is correct. I'd suggest looking it up for yourself if you're interested. It was in that moment that Domina finally came to accept what everyone else is slowly coming to accept in the current story, that Mash is on a completely other level. Well, in this case Domina put him and Mash on a completely other level, only for Mash to mysteriously disappear a few weeks later, which still hasn't been explained, although with the introduction of this midwife character I'm wondering if she had something to do with it, who knows. But rather than soothe Domina, this only further fueled his desire to destroy Mash, so that he could gain his father's full attention. Again, even as an infant that kid was absolutely messed up. I know you shouldn't say someone is born evil, but damn, that kid was born evil. But from there we transition back to the present for the final exam, where we see a beautiful mansion, seemingly overgrown with bramble and other plants, giving off an eerie vibe. And of course, Domina along with his collection of monstrous students come to face off against Mash and his friends, and for some reason Mash is being piggybacked, and for some reason there is a claw of some kind helping to hold him up. Our shark-toothed friend congratulates Mash on not running away, and somehow, someway Mash, Dot and Razor seem to have concluded they are playing a game of chicken fight, and the final panel of the chapter is Finn once again freaking out over them not listening. At this point I'm not certain if Finn is or isn't in this exam. I really don't know what to make of this anymore, but let me know what you think in the comments below. But that's all I have to say about this video, so if you enjoyed it don't forget to like and subscribe. I've been the Anonymous Weeb and I wish you a good day or night wherever you are.